welcome back to another ETS Profile. My name is Christine Richards, and I'm the Research Director at Zpryme. And we're excited to have Guerry Waters with us from Oracle Utilities. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your role at Oracle and what you've been working on recently.
Yeah, okay. Well, I am the VP of what we call industry strategy. And my role is to understand where the industry is going and then help, the rest of my colleagues there decide, how do we provide innovative technology to the utility marketplace, both on the energy side, electric, gas, and the water industry too.
Excellent. Now, at this event, we've been talking a lot about innovation and the roles of utilities in innovation. What are you seeing? What are some of the activities that are going on?
It really creates some interesting conversations to me around innovation. And I serve on some other groups, most notable of which is the EEI, Innovation Council, that we have spent a lot of time discussing innovation, particularly around the electric utility industry. And then I'm also part of another group called the Brookings Institute, where there's Jim Rogers has formed a group there to talk about innovation in a broader sense, on a global basis, and particularly about bringing, the value of energy to the undeveloped nations and what can happen there. And so, being a technologist, I say, well, what is the role of a technology firm in innovation? Mm-hmm. And so I often know that we kind of get to the somewhat of a historical question as well. Is technology is innovation, or is technology really a driver of innovation? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, you have to kind of ponder those points. But I believe, and this is probably more a personal opinion, is that we are really a technology and we are an innovation enabler. Mm-hmm. In fact, we help others become innovative by providing the technology. So if you think about it, and not just Oracle, but many of the others in the marketplace today, that we're investing literally billions of dollars in technology.
Yeah.
R&D, we're constantly thinking, we have thousands of people in Oracle that get up every day and say, how can we make this better? Make it better for multiple industries and even the utility industry. So when I get to thinking about that, I say, okay, then how do we actually make that real? Mm-hmm. And so I think about, let's see, the industry today still has, the driver to be reliable, affordable. Now they've added clean or environmentally, responsible energy and water to their missions and to their drivers and to their strategies today. And then you take that and you relate it back to, okay, well, let's say, a lot of the day, and I've heard at this conference, is to focus on the customer.
Yeah.
And so what are we doing from a technology point of view to help our customers and help the industry be more innovative in their approach to customers? So you think about, what do you want to do around the customer? You want to improve the customer experience. Mm-hmm. So today, we and others bring better technology to, using social media technology, bringing the ideas you can now offer more creative products and services, even in the regulated environment to your customers, and then make it easier to deal with them anytime, anywhere, the whole thing about mobile technology that you can bring to bear there too. Well, then, of course, that's the side of the equation. So next is, there's a lot of focus on the grid and innovation in the grid. And a lot of innovation is happening there around the capabilities of generation, renewable generation, and you can have a whole litany of things you can list off: distributed energy, virtual power plants, microgrids, and on and on and on. So, the trick there is, not the trick, but how does the utility utilize all of that?
Yeah.
Bring it into an environment, where there's been historically one way. Now, we're moving to a two-way environment there too, or a multiple-way environment there too. What we do and others is bring that technology to the marketplace that allows them to be able to integrate that into their environment, in a distribution environment, even into their work environments there broadly across all their utilities. So there again, we're playing the role of an enabler. Then it's up to the utility how to use these tools. Now we can say we can bring in your solar generation down to the level of a residential or a community level and make it behave well within your environment there too, not completely disrupt your environment. So, so there's another way that we bring that into that. Then the third way is where you think about it, okay, but now all this innovation that's being brought into the marketplace today, both from a hardware point of view and even from the software point of view, is it's generating tons of data. You hear the overused term, big data. And that's not unique to the utility industry. You're hearing that in every industry today, retail, telecommunications there too. So what do we do there? Well, the same thing applies there. And I think the way to characterize it is we help the industry with what they don't know about what they don't know that they should know. And so we help them we provide tools to help them then analyze this data, to do something with all this data, and then bring it into their environment anyways. So, that's one side of it. The other side of that is where we've got to be more innovative, is to help utilities be more innovative, is you've got to, this is interesting data, but how do I actually get it into my environment? So that other part, the innovation on the data side, is that, you can analyze it, you can find out some interesting patterns there, but then how do you put that into your environment? How do you put it into your customer environment? How do you put it into your grid environment? How do you put it into your generation environment? Or how do you bring all that whole together there too? Which leads to kind of the third area there, is, good on all of that, but I would call it business process integration. Sometimes you've heard in the past, the old term was business process improvement.
Yep.
So now the idea is that the thought there is, the industry has always been criticized for being siloed. And coming from the industry and having spent quite a few years in the industry, yes, that's true. We're guilty of that, but we're starting to move away from that. I've even heard some discussions here at this conference about what utilities are doing culturally, to say, yes, we got to bring multiple areas together and understand how we need to better work together. And the background of that, what we do, and I'm sure others do too, is we help them integrate those environments to break down the silos to be able to have processes that span across distribution, workforce, customers, and all the way to generation with all of that. So it's somewhat of a unique approach to the marketplace today, but how do you bring and integrate all that into there? Not only the data, but also bring the other elements in there. So the sum of it all is this. Okay, then I've heard this, many CEOs and other executives in the industry say, yes, great, there's a lot of technology out there, and there's even some quotes I've heard about, when in the environment we're in today, is it really, is the technology holding back the industry? And I'm pretty sure that most would agree that technology is not holding back the industry.
Yeah.
Everything I've just talked about is available, frankly, right now. Is it going to be constantly improving? Absolutely. The other part of that is, how do you bring that technology into your existing environment?
Yeah.
And how soon can you bring it into that? And I've heard recently a regulator, I think it was, or I'm not sure, I think it was a legislator say that was very involved in all of this, say that the industry has really been in this trap around the way that the finances, and you could even say the way the industry is driven financially.
Yeah.
That when you bring in an asset, and software can be considered an asset, it takes years under some of the rules today that you have to depreciate that over time. And so what happens is the industry has this situation where they have assets, software that they put on the books that now they got to bring and get and to retire the asset over some time unless they get some kind of accelerated depreciation. So they're in a trap there to be using, frankly, older software for an extended period of time, even though there are multiple new versions of the software out there. And you can think about that today where there's been in the industry, that you talk about customer systems that have been in place 20 years, 25 years, and so on like that are frankly inadequate to serve the new environment with that.
Now, we did a recent study with Oracle around the cloud and cloud technologies for utilities. So, how does that play into some of the financing?
Very good, because I think that is one of the solutions to this problem I just talked about.
Yeah.
The idea there is that the industry today spends a lot of time, and I came from this environment too, that and maybe it's because it's the engineering background. that we like to have things that we can put our hands on and make work ourselves.
Tangible.
And sometimes we like to get it from multiple sources and find ways to make it all work together. I'm not too sure we have the luxury of that anymore. Speaking if I was still in the industry now too, is well, could we in fact put that off on someone else and know that someone else that can be very well qualified, the technology firms, that's just their bread and butter, is making things work together. And so that's what I think is really now is cloud, the idea, the concept of cloud has been around, frankly, for years.
Yeah.
But now it's coming to the forefront as other industries are saying, no, this is a way to, one, lower cost, and there are some cost elements to that. Could I be possibly spend the resource that I'm using on that today to keep all of this conglomeration working together and integrated? Could I redirect that then to thinking, well, how can I use this technology in a better way? How can I be more innovative in doing this? And so cloud addresses those issues. The idea that you can then put it off on someone else, that that they're going to run that environment for you. Be sure it keeps integrated with all the other environments and all the other things that change. You have an application. Oh, wait a minute, it's a new version of the database. Oh, it's a new version of the middleware.
Yeah.
And on a new version of the application. Put that on someone else and let them worry with that, and take those resources, those precious resources, and allocate them somewhere else. Very high value equation there too. Now, one more point about that. Back to that point again about the financial side and the way utilities operate. Traditionally, there's always been the idea that you've got to treat that as an asset. You've got to use capital funds in order to be able to use that asset out over time and so on too, which then traps you into the thing I mentioned earlier about, well, in effect, you're putting in software that is probably destined to be outdated within a period of time. Cloud addresses that issue too, that you can put it in, and then the burden's going to be on the provider to keep that software up to date. With some little ins and outs of that too. But the other issue has been financial, is that, well, maybe the industry can take that asset and then earn a rate of return on it, which has been the traditional way utilities earn money.
Yeah.
And so can I, in fact, find some way to treat that as a capital asset and then still get the value of being able to put it into rate base. And fortunately, many of the financial people in the industry, CFOs and so on, now believe that issue can be solved. So that's becoming less and less of a barrier. One last point on cloud. The other thing that when I talk to people about cloud, and particularly in the utility industry, they say, well, what about security? Do I really want to put that somewhere else into another environment out there that can be hacked into? Again, you think about, well, the people that are running clouds, first of all, their reputation has got to be stellar in an area like this. Otherwise, they're out of business. Yeah. So it's really a major issue to them. Secondly, it is their bread and butter environment to maintain security. Well, that's what we do. We provide software to governments around the world and the United States governments, so on like that too. And we have to have extreme levels of security with that software. We bring that same thinking and same ideas into the software we provide today, and certainly within the cloud environment. So we think we can address that issue too.
Yeah, so it seems like as utilities look to innovate and in areas like the cloud, there are questions around that core competencies, what does the utility want to do going forward, and how do these partnerships start to develop with all these different groups? Well,
that's a good point. You make this as partnerships. And I've seen the attitude around technology providers and utilities, particularly where I spend all my time, is that it's been a shift. Before, the technology providers was a vendor. We're you here to sell me something, and then and then you go away, and then I buy it from A, B, C, and D, and I never want to be locked into one vendor and so on like that too. There's still some elements of that there, but and I think many of the forward-thinking utilities are saying we need to partner with technology providers because, believe it or not, we have ideas and opinions too, since we have a broad base of customers to understand what's happening in the industry too. And we want to be a partner with the industry. And I think that's starting to happen more and more. Even in this conference, I've heard that several times.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Guerry. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It was good. It was fun.